Productions.
No way, Jose.
The following footage proves beyond any doubt that the tanks intentionally set the house on fire. It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire quite plainly. The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jets is plainly visible.
We must all do more to recognize and look for the early warning signals that deeply troubled young people send.
Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the Morning Dump. It's a beautiful morning on May 2nd. Right, May? Yeah, May. I'm your host, Jose Galison. Today we have a lot to go through. We have a lot of foreign policy stuff today. A lot of stuff pops off. I know obviously the show isn't a foreign policy show, but I do try to extract the important things. And boy, oh boy, there's a lot going on. So we'll get into that. Although most of them we can kind of just cruise through, not super deep dives into all of them. And then, we have a pretty interesting day. I have a expose on the settlers, Israeli settlers, because that's even for those of us who are kind of into the, have learned on the Israel topic, a lot of us don't really know a ton about the settler component, because it is kind of bizarre, but we'll get into that today. But with that, I just want to take a second to say, what's up, guys? What's up, Bobo? See you in there. See Eddie Graham. Good morning. Sloppy Toppy all up in here. Voodoo Ranger, Jew Tunnels. Hell yeah. Catching it live. All right, cool. We're going to have more rolling in here shortly, I'm sure. And while we wait for them to roll in, we will take a moment to pay the bills. I do want to remind you guys that today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at NWJ Co. And that's the way to go. This is much preferable to the multi-blade cartridges in pretty much every way. I really can't think of a way in which they're better. Maybe if you hit them with a hammer, maybe... Actually, I take that back either. This thing's like solid metal. So I can't even really think of a way that multi-blades are better. This gives you a smoother shave. It's much better for your face. You're dragging a lot less razors across it. Who would have thought dragging 5 razors across your face is worse than dragging 1? I don't know. It's kind of common sense, and I think about it for some reason. I don't know. At some point in time, we stopped doing what our grandparents used to do, which were these single-blade safety razors, and went to the multi-blades, which has been a folly of modern man. Go back. NWJ Co. is also a company that's a mandate-refusing company. This company, a COVID mandate-refusing company, was born out of refusing the COVID mandate. So this is a company that generally is probably going to align with your values, assuming you watch this, since you watch this show. And if that wasn't enough, this is extremely affordable comparatively to the multi-blades. It's $75 for the first year. That gives you the razor handle you see here and 100 blades. After that, you're just paying for blades. And on top of that, you can get 10% off if you use Jose at checkout. It's really a no-brainer. So go over there and let them know I sent you. Use Jose at checkout at NWJCo.com. And then let's start getting into some stuff. Good morning, John Blacks and Egg 7. And isn't the 7 supposed to be a salute? I don't know I know the egg's a raven thing. So, but all right, let's go ahead and let's get into some topics. Actually, I got one more thing on the agenda for grifting real quick. I do want to take a moment to let you guys know that Bro Grove tickets are now available to the public. I haven't put out any of my posts or anything yet. They just started dropping them right before, so they'll probably be probably put it out on YouTube and Rumble, and then probably put out on Twitter if you guys need to find the link. But I believe that's going to be at toplobster.com. Actually, let's just go on over to toplobster.com and see if we can navigate it ourselves, just to show you. Let's see. Yeah, right at the front, really at the head. So you just got to go toplobster.com. Nothing tricky. But if for some reason you can't remember toplobster.com, then I will be putting out posts, and I'll put the links in those. So that'll be on Rumble, YouTube, and I will put it out on Twitter as well. But yeah, they're open to the general public. If you were a patron, you would have already had that, and you would have it at a discounted price. I don't know what we're doing right now, the prices for these, but I can tell you they were significantly cheaper for the patrons. So, and the reason being for that is because it was early, and then partially because it's like, we didn't really have a full grasp on what the supply and demand, or I guess the demand, not supply, we know the supply. We weren't really too clear on the demand side of things, and it's pretty clear demand is high. The VIP tickets are entirely sold out. There are no more VIP tickets. Those were gone within 24 hours, and that was exclusively for patrons. It hadn't even gone public yet, and all the VIPs were gone. So, I mean, if you wanted a VIP ticket, which, I don't know, I guess it's just you guys are paying to go drink beers with us, basically. But either way, if you did want that VIP ticket, too late. Sorry, you should have been a patron. Between one of us, whether it's me, Nephilim Death Squad, Tower Gang, Toad even, like any of these, if you just supported any of us, you would have got this stuff early. So you have no one to blame but yourself. And honestly, you need to get on these tickets like now. Like I can't emphasize that enough. They are going to sell out quick. And I'm telling you right now, you guys are, I mean, I've already told you guys about this. I'm sure you, but I guess we only talked about like once particularly, but we got Owen Benjamin headlining one night, Sam Tripoli headlining the other. We got Shane Cashman emceeing both days. Obviously, you got Nephilim Death Squad, Tower Gang, me. I think Austin's going to be there. There's going to be a lot going on. And there are other guests that I know of. And I'll go ahead and tell you that there's another guest, and there's actually two other guests that I think are happening. And so far as like I guess their level of profile, I guess, without giving out too many hints, the people that I have in mind are actually going to be like already on the level of our headliners, if not even like maybe even above. So one of which that might come is like substantially, but I'm not saying they're better, but just so far as like the size of their profile, like how well they're known in the world. Yeah, and we're talking Sam Tripoli and Owen Benjamin. These are very, very well-known men in our spheres. But now I'm talking about people that are well-known generally, like that might come. I'm not going to drop any names, but we just know things. And I'm just saying this is what we have now. We're 2 months out. Well, I mean, like I guess 1 month, but 1 month and some change. It's basically 2 months out. So a lot of things are going to fall in place in the meantime. So I think this thing's going to get pretty heated. I honestly think likely we'll probably sell out we'll sell out tickets, I think, probably within 24 to 48 hours. So I'm really just nagging you guys about this. I don't really get any money out of it. I just really want to make sure a lot of you guys end up there and that it doesn't end up just being nothing but Owen Benjamin and Sam Tripoli and Shane Cashman and whatever other big fans, other people kind of decide to come, but those fans, essentially. So I want you guys to be there. I want to get to where in the future, maybe we can just sell out immediately with patrons, and that way it's nothing but our audience. And, the other people, they don't even get to bring their audience. Suck it. So, but just letting you guys know, it is what it is. If you guys don't get on it like now, you're fucked, basically. Just letting you know. So if you guys have any sort of inkling whatsoever that you want to go to Pro Grove, you probably should buy a ticket. Even if you're not 100% sure, maybe buy it and resell it later. I don't know. I'm just this is pretty much your last chance. So, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if by the time I put those promos out, because the nature of my day is that usually I do these morning streams, and then I usually do some housework. Right now I'm currently ripping up my my flooring to put new flooring to. I'm not going to install the new flooring, but I can perfectly demo flooring. So I'm doing that every day, and then so I have a couple hours of that, then gotta go get the kids, and by the time I get around to posting anything, it's going to be probably not till the afternoon, and likely they might even be sold out by then. So just saying. But all right, that's enough of I guess grifting. Although I say grifting because but I don't even really get anything out of this. I just want to see you guys there. So I mean, I'm going to be there either way. They're going to sell out either way. So get on it. Don't know what to tell you. All right, let's roll through the chat, and then we'll get into some actual content. Abrogate D says, I talk to Toad literally every day. Yeah, sure. I actually was just thinking today, I think I might have him come on. I haven't hit him up yet, but I have a feeling he'll probably go for it. I'll probably do another live reading of Democracy God That Failed with him. It's been too long, and I think maybe we'll continue on with that. So keep an eye out. I think that if that happens, that'll probably be Monday for the patrons. So it'll be Monday night, and obviously they'll go out later if you're one of those people that are into that. But been a long time since we did that live reading. We need to finish it, and so I was just thinking about day I had an opening. But all right, let's go ahead and I guess get into it. Lawrence says I don't even like cocaine. I just like the smell. All right, let's get into some actual content. All right, like I said, we have a bunch of foreign policy stuff today, so we're going to lead off with this. We talked a little bit about the Ukraine deal yesterday. Now more details are seeming to be coming out. It says the mineral deal will count future U.S. military aid to Ukraine as part of investment fund. As right here, the minerals deal that gives the U.S. access to Ukraine's natural resources will count future U.S. military aid as a contribution to a joint investment fund, suggesting the agreement could increase U.S. weapon shipments to Ukraine. Not going to read this whole piece. I think that paragraph really kind of does it justice, essentially the idea of what's going on here, and really it completely backs up the little rant I had yesterday about all this. This is the idea here is that it's a now they're going to essentially consider essentially any sort of military aid as an investment into this. So essentially they're rolling this into it. So now this is the frame game. They've essentially created it so that now, when this came in, you got to remember he came in as like, oh, we're going to stop this Ukraine-Russia war. And, then he cut off the funding and all that stuff. And then it seemed like, oh, geez, maybe they're serious about it. Then they turned it back on. And now, obviously, it seems like this is almost a framing thing because now you can easily back away in some shape or form while still doing all the aid and all of that. And now they can kind of back up and they can frame it more as their hands are clean because as opposed to contributing to a war, now it is now it's just now it's an investment. It's an investment in in our own economy. This is the game that's played. It's the same nonsense they do with Israel, like, oh, they're their greatest ally. They contribute this, and not really. No, they don't. But yeah, this it just kind of makes the point that obviously this. I think it does seem like a perception thing, or it seems like a perception thing, and two, also like let's be real, it keeps this parasite game going, even when the big parasitical move seems to be dying off, like the war. So I do think probably over the next year or two, it just seems inevitable this war will peter off and slowly slip into nothing. But in the meantime, as I've said before, I think Ukraine's going to get put in a worse and worse and worse leverage position, while us, the United States, Russia, and pretty much anyone else who has any sort of hand in the pot is going to try to find a way to extract whatever wealth they can out of it in the meantime. And that seems to be what we're doing. So no real, doesn't seem like any real way to act, like any real move to end the war. We're clearly just going to keep dragging it on, putting on life support for as long as possible, because that's what this move does. It essentially gives the perception of like, it changes the perception from being more of being involved in the war into more of this is just a investment into our own economy, essentially, since we're essentially splitting the profits. And so an investment in Ukraine is now an investment in the U.S. So kind of makes it also so that if they do get attacked, we might be more likely to get involved. I kind of doubt that we would get involved in any sort of anything. I feel like it's more likely the former proposition I gave, the idea that like it's just going to peter off and they're just going to use this as a method in order to kind of draw off wealth as it goes along. So, but it kind of allows them to keep the status quo while being able to change the framing slightly to their effect. Because obviously that's just the game they're going to play. That's how they're going to word it. They're going to essentially, I guarantee it, I almost guarantee it, the framing of this from now on, especially because there was a recent deal push that Russia or Trump kind of gave this I forget the exact wording, but it was something along the lines like if they don't do if Ukraine doesn't go for this time, they're like basically kind of like they're on their own. I forget the exact wording. Now, what does that mean? I don't know, but I think that's what I'm describing. The on their own, it literally just means rhetorically. It just means I'm washing my hands of this and I no longer have anything to do with the peace process, while still literally basically being the same exact stance. Like basically nothing will have changed from the previous administration to the next administration, aside like literally be funding them all the same, exactly the same. If anything, being more ingrained, more entrenched into this war and like essentially more aligning our incentives. So yeah, nothing will have changed. And the framing, it's just nothing will have changed except for the framing of it. It'll just be framed as, okay, well, we tried, they didn't go for it, and our hands are clean of this. We have nothing to do with it. Whatever limited involvement we have in Ukraine is for the purposes of like benefiting both of our economies. That will be how it'll be framed. So, I mean, I did. Whoop-de-doo, I'm so glad we got Trump as opposed to Kamala. It would have been so worse if Kamala would have World War III. Ooh, the world would be falling apart with a World War III. Oh, no. Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, don't be wrong. I'm not even saying we're going to get World War III for Trump, but I think we'd probably be in basically the exact same situation. So it's like, cool. And if anything, let's be real. I feel like we're probably actually going harder on Israel than if Kamala had gone in. Not saying that she would be some, peacenik on Israel. Far be it. She's clearly a tool of the establishment, but she would have had a far more natural political opposition to it from her own party and from the contingency on the right that's against it. Whereas now, in the current situation we have, that's not how it plays out. So, I mean, the left that opposes Trump, it's like, who fucking cares? Since they do kind of control, I think they control most of like everything essentially right now. So politically speaking, it's kind of, that makes no difference really. Really, the only issue they have is when their own party, the right, coming at them. And let's be real, that's probably maybe half to like a slight minority. It's not the majority of the. I mean, it's definitely a solid contingency that matters, and you do need to try to appeal to. But he's a second-term president, so I guess he kind of doesn't either. So I don't know. This is just a war's a racket. So, but all right, let's get into the next story. Actually, let's pop into the chat, see what you guys have to say. How long until World War Z, says Control Dig? I don't know. Scrolling through. Lawrence says, I highly doubt we will get shit from this in the end. Well, yeah, I mean, we like any of us in here will see absolutely nothing. As I've said before, this is like, to be fair, I guess to be slightly fair, I gotta like somewhat hedge what I'm saying here, and that like, sure, maybe I could be wrong, but like, let's be real, just judging by the history of how these sorts of things work, it's just going to be everyone, essentially trying to stick their hand in the pot, trying to grab stuff out, military contractors, bureaucrats, et cetera, like, so yeah, I mean, I'm sure there is some sort of like semi-private component to this and some sort of legitimate organic profits to be had. But I mean, come on, let's be real. I mean, so many government actors are involved in this, and it doesn't act by any sort of real fucking, economy, indicators. It's going to be completely artificial. So it really is just a money laundering operation. Like, this isn't like some private country private company going, I'm going to go do this over here, and then we're going to make money off it by selling it to the market because this person wants this, and we'll give them, this is just this likely is like a government contract, bureaucracy. Yeah, there's so many people on the take here. Scrolling through. Let me get. All right, let's get into the next story. This is a follow-up on a story the other day. This is the attack on the Yemen migrant facility. Now, this is where the U.S. GBU-39 bomb remnants were found there, which I don't even really know what the hell that is. The specific of the bomb, this is kind of not really the point here, I think. I think the key of this story that it really gets into here is it's the idea that it likely was intentional. Because we get more details in here. There was recently, for those who don't follow the show religiously daily, recently we struck, I say we, and obviously I didn't fucking do it. I had nothing to do with this. My tax dollars were stolen for this, but the United States dropped bombs on Yemen, one of which, and this was after that whole double tap they did at that fuel port. Now they hit a Yemen migrant facility. So this was a migrant facility that was almost entirely just African migrants in it that were like detainees. I don't know if that means they're like imprisoned or if this is some sort of like, area where they wait while they get their papers together or whatever. But either way, this was a migrant facility. This was, now why we bombed this, I don't know. But so then the thing becomes kind of waiting for reasoning or something. As I kind of mentioned yesterday, it's been the White House particularly and media in general has been pretty quiet about the Yemen stuff. So it's just no one seemed to really care, and they haven't really said much. We're still currently at a, I guess on Monday they said, we're currently conducting our battle damage assessment and inquiry into these claims. Because someone did ask them about that, but there haven't been anything further. But I guess we have found out about that, the specific type it was. We've also found out that it was 3 separate strikes. We see a Yemen-based Ethiopian activist who spoke with survivors of the attack told Drop Site that the detention center was hit by 3 separate strikes in slow succession. So this is essentially, I guess, kind of somewhat the equivalent of the double tap they did recently. So the idea is drop a bomb, wait a little bit, drop another bomb. They only did it twice for the fuel port, but they did it 3 times this way. And then what happens is, I don't know how long of time there were in between, but how this usually works is, you drop a bomb and then, oh no, now people, emergency, services show up, start dealing with it, dealing with the wounded, whatever. And then now a second one comes, and now it just so happens there are people trying to deal with the wounded that are now also getting caught in the fire. So I'm not sure if this happened here too. I don't know if there was the degree, the amount of time between each. Maybe there wasn't enough. But either way, at the very least, I mean, that may not suggest that there was some sort of secondary motive to to remove rescue workers or whatever. But at the very least, I'd say 3 separate strikes makes it pretty clear it was intentional. And I guess these sort of bombs are, the way the delivery method for these is extremely accurate. So the idea of these things being accidentally somehow hitting this facility is kind of not a possibility. So seems like we're still waiting on why there was for some reason that the United States felt it was acceptable to drop bombs on a migrant facility. I mean, I don't even know how to wrap my head around how this could be a valid military target. I mean, even the one before this was the fuel port, which that's super awful. They double tapped it, like I said, which was awful. So it got a bunch of rescue workers killed. But it was a fuel port. So this is a civilian infrastructure. This was where yes, the military used it as well, but and that was their excuse, so the military used it, but I don't even understand what possible military necessity could there be here? I mean, unless you're saying, we must demoralize these people, I don't know. If anything, this is bizarre. If I was in Yemen, and then they bombed a friggin', I don't know, a prison or a Yemen, I'd just be confused. What? Obviously, it'd be there's a level of terrifying there. But if anything, it's almost more terrifying because it's confusing. They're bombing prisons. Why? What the fuck is wrong with these people? So I don't. It's bizarre. Maybe we'll hear more. But I don't know what to make of this. But let me see. With that, I guess we'll probably lead that kind of perfectly flows into the next story here about Hegseth. What's going on with him? He's talking shit on Twitter. If you guys can tell with the thumbnail, that was a Hegseth. It wasn't completely perfect, but it's pretty close. But yeah, Hegseth threatened Iran over Yemen, which I'm still... What was it, yesterday we covered the story where the UK, I guess, was assisting us in some of the bombing, and I kind of made the speculation that perhaps there's some sort of shifting of the framing going on in preparation, at least, in order to kind of find a way to back away, because I just don't really know what the U.S. has accomplished from this. And obviously, don't get me wrong, I don't like these people are all neocons essentially to me. They're all Israel Ziocucks. But just simply from a political perspective, this just seems frankly retarded. This whole Yemen campaign, it seems pretty damn foolish. I just don't really know how you get a W out of this. So I just think they're in a position now where they've got to be thinking methods of backing away. And as I said with the UK thing, this kind of leaks, and that leaked into the whole signal chat a thing that was going on, and that how they were talking about, I hate that we have to subsidize Europe or whatever. So now you have UK helping. Is that a way you can back off? And here's another one that I think perhaps this is also a part of the framing. So now you can, so the idea being here is, obviously I was proposing possibly with other allies assisting in the bombing, the concept would be allow us to back off, and they go, it's more for them to do this anyways, which Well, I think it's shitty to like essentially bring another one into it. It's still better than us being involved. So I guess a minor W if they do that. I guess I hesitate to say I hope they do that, but I guess I sort of do because I guess it's preferable if the UK is bombing Yemen as opposed to us because I don't know. I don't really feel like they have the will to do that for forever. So if we back off and hand it off to the UK or other actors, I feel like it probably wouldn't be for that long and they just stop. So that's kind of our way to get it to stop. But like I said, that's passing off to the allies. But it looks like maybe we're doing a shifting of the enemies in order to possibly skirt away from the Yemeni problem. Possibly. I'm not sure. Otherwise, I struggle to find any sort of solid reasoning behind Hegseth's statement that we're about to get into here. So we'll go ahead and read this one. So, I found this tweet yesterday. We'll just read it off of here, though. But on Wednesday night, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth threatened Iran over Tehran's alleged support for the Houthis amid the U.S.'s heavy Yemen bombing campaign. Message to Iran, this is his tweet, "We see your lethal support to the Houthis. We know exactly what you are doing," Hegseth wrote on X. "You know very well what the U.S. military is capable of, and you were warned. You will pay the consequence of the time and place of our choosing," which seems like a fucking direct threat to me. So he's making a threat directly to Iran over supporting the Houthis. So, which is bizarre because I think even Trump recently said otherwise. So we'll finish this. I think that even says that in here. While the Houthis, officially known as Ansar Allah, are aligned with Iran, the Yemeni group has its own domestic missile and drone program, meaning they're not reliant on Tehran for military support. This has been acknowledged by U.S. officials, including President Trump. They're experts on missiles. I mean, they actually make missiles. Nobody thought that, but they make missiles. It's highly sophisticated, President Trump said during an Oval Office meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in early April. Now, when he made those statements, that was shortly after Trump had said statements that are actually mirroring Hegseth's current statements. So he had made some sort of statement like the idea of like, Israel, cut it out. Not Israel, Iran, cut it out. Stop giving them weapons. We know what you're doing. And then, everyone, or I guess not everyone, but a lot of people, at least in my circles, were like, this is retarded. And then shortly after that, he had the statement here that he then said, oh, they have their own. So it sounds like someone got to him and was like, hey, Donald, like, that's not the case. You're wrong. Maybe. I don't know. But in March, the Washington Post, citing U.S. officials, reported that the Houthis have established their own substantial independent weapons production capability. The Houthis also operate independently, aren't likely to take orders from Tehran. Then it just kind of goes into how they're blaming them, blah, blah, blah. But it is, it's interesting that Hegseth's going back to this. So, now this there's also that further complicates matters that we're in a weird position with the administration, which we will get to in a second. All this stuff is so connected. I don't really know how to understand who's doing what, who's... I almost said the good guy, but even then, none of these guys are good guys. They're just better guys and worse guys. I don't know what to make of this. This is very bizarre by Pete. The only thing I can really think of is if I'm trying to give some sort of positive spin on this, is that this is a way to kind of spin or to kind of shift enemies. So shift from Yemen to Iran, put more focus on that. Obviously, that's not great either because I don't want any war with Iran. But it also, if I'm being super duper duper hopeful here, which I'm not, I guess it could be an idea of like, oh, we'll in rhetoric shift the enemy since we're kind of already doing that anyways. They're doing this maximum pressure. Oh, make them real bad. I mean, there could be signals within the administration that's saying, hey, put all blame on Iran right now. Like maybe for some reason they think that's a negotiation tactic right now. Don't know why they would think that. I think that's a bad idea, but perhaps they think that's a negotiating tactic. So it's just in rhetoric alone. Perhaps. I'm very, very doubtful of that, but I don't know. But it is bizarre because Pete Hegseth is at least been portrayed. I doubt it a little bit. I doubt that being the truth of it. But he's at least been tried to be portrayed with the different leaks and the things that are going on behind the scenes and straight up statements he's made in the past to be one of the better ones. And then this is kind of shitty. So, but like I said, this does kind of tie into what's going on with the administration right now, which we got some weird mix-ups there right now too. So we got here's a piece from Axios. By Barack Ravid. Trump nominated ousted advisor Waltz as UN ambassador, which I guess recently, I By the time I even realized Waltz had been ousted from the administration, that I found out he was being hired. So I guess there was like a minor period of time where like most anti-war guys were like, "Oh hell yeah, woohoo, Waltz is gone," because he's one of the neocons in there. But he's also the one that had the huge faux pas with the signal chat. Why can I think of that? But a lot of people thinking that had to do with that. I mean, it might still have to do with that they moved him. Because let's be real, what was he? I forget what exactly is a national security advisor. So obviously, a national security advisor, I would assume, most people wouldn't think that's as a. Most people would think that UN ambassador would be a demotion. So it does look like Waltz got demoted. Him being one of the neocon ones, guys. But I don't think this has anything to do with his statement, with his perspective on Israel and the like, because he has been the more hawkish of the ones. A lot of people were kind of celebrating, like, oh, maybe this signals a change. Well, we're going to get into who replaced him, and that might make you realize, oh shit, this didn't signal a change. And then you pair that with Hegseth's statements, which seem to be kind of uncharacteristic with the way he's been perceived or portrayed before. So is this they got to him, and now he's tamping down the rhetoric more? I'm unsure. I mean, for those who are unaware, I know we've covered on this before. Some of the Pentagon staffers, who I believe were essentially direct employees of, worked directly under Hegseth, that were again fired. Like, there was that Caldwell guy that did an interview on Tucker, kind of going to how he was one of the better of the guys. Essentially, like he's one of the people who's kind of the standard. We don't want problems with Iran, and essentially behind the scenes, these people are getting ousted, being accused of being leakers, and things of the like. Essentially, being disparaged as best they can by the Zios out there. And Hegseth, it seemed like, because Caldwell was one of his guys, and there's been some stories. It seemed, I think some of the leaks they tried to spin around on Hegseth, but it just seemed like there clearly was an angle where people were pushing on Hegseth and his underlings to be more hawkish. Although he's been fairly hawkish as it is. So this is why I'm saying before, there's better guys and worse guys. I guess you could say he's a better, but I still don't think he's great whatsoever. So, but either way, so I don't know what's going on here, but let's go ahead and read this real quick. We're not going to read the whole thing, but I'll give you actually, never mind. It's not that long. So President Trump confirmed he was removing Mike Waltz as national security advisor on Thursday, but added the surprise announcement that he would be nominating him for the vacant UN ambassador post. Why it matters: Walz's removal is a dramatic shakeup in the White House and will likely lead to more firings or resignations inside the National Security Council. Trump announced that until a new national security advisor is appointed, Secretary of State Marco Rubio will also hold this job. Now, I don't know the rules about if he even has to, but this could be really fucking bad, and let me point out why. It's literally the next bullet point. The last person to serve as both National Security Advisor and Secretary of State at the same time was Henry Kissinger from 1973 to 1975. So it was a 2-year period. I mean, we only have the term is only 4 years, so it's like that would be half the term if that happened again. And Marco Rubio holding both those positions, fuck me, dude. So yeah, let's keep going. Trump's announcement caught many administration officials by surprise. State Department spokesman Tammy Bruce learned about the decision from reporters questioning while standing at the podium. His status inside the administration was diminished as a result of the Signalgate affair. All right, this is all just bullet point nonsense. We don't need to go through all of that, but I mean, the key points here is Waltz is now UN ambassador, which, I don't know, as I mentioned before, they are trying to lean into this Europe must do more, so maybe we can get some of that from him. Maybe this is that kind of Trump made that one statement forever ago about how, like, oh, if I had Bolton, it was good for negotiating, because people are like, oh, look at this crazy guy, and you're like, so maybe, well, I think that's fucking stupid. Maybe there's something to it with walls at the UN, because let's be real, we're not trying to go to war with the UN, so if you have someone that's kind of I don't know. In fact, just if anything, though, that would make him more UN friendly. But I don't know. I feel like I've seen statements before, too, where it seems like some of these more modern neocons are still kind of like, yeah, let's go to war, but also we need to get Europe to do more. I mean, they just don't want to do it all because they want to have some fun, too. So that's the current situation with the administration. Lots of shaking up going on, and I don't really think it's for the better. So let's go ahead and go through this chat real quick and see what you guys have to say. 22 U.S. vets still offering themselves a day to LOL. Iran. After Iran, it's going to be 200 a day. Perhaps. One second. All right, sorry, I just had to move a tab around. All right, scroll through this. All right. Ray Guerrilla War. Okay, sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. I feel like they're just fucking stuff up in Yemen, just to fuck stuff up at this point. Perhaps, I don't know. These things seem like ways of trying to shift around the narrative somehow. Because I just, from a political perspective, this seemed like a loser from the beginning. But it seemed like they were probably, man, what's the word of like what's the word I'm looking for? Essentially forced, maybe not forced. Force isn't the exact word I'm looking to. They were pushed. They were probably strongly pushed by Israel into this action over here in Yemen. So, yeah. Point being is like I don't think they really wanted to get into this. It was just I feel like this was probably something Israel was very, 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 very insistent on, probably to the degree of, we will drop the files on person A, B, C, 1, 2, and 3 if you don't fucking do this. That would be my guess. So they go, oh shit, okay, we really got to do this one. And because this doesn't seem like something that they just, and given the current political situation, if sans Israel, like Israel not being a component, we wouldn't, and assuming they're still popping off doing whatever, I just feel like we wouldn't play this game this way over again. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just, yeah, it feels that way for sure. Alan says, I love it when he starts reading some weird shit I wrote, then realizes mine is probably something derogatory or messed up. You know, I do sometimes, because I'm just kind of glancing over them real quick, I'll think like, oh, geez, I think that's something important. And then I realize, oh, they're just arguing with somebody in the chat or something. I'm like, oh, now I look stupid reading this. So thanks for all you do, Jose. I appreciate all the content. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. It's always nice when people say nice things. It's not nice when people say mean things. All right, let's get into the next story. We're still not done with foreign policy. I'm trying to get through it. These ones will probably cruise a little bit more. Israel preparing a major mobilization to ramp up operations in Gaza. This is from Kyle Anzalone. So this is the current move right now. The powers that be over there are saying they're ramping things up. The key thing is, I guess, a lot of these things they had currently or previously designated safe zones, which still aren't even being, I believe, treated as safe zones. They're getting ready to clear them out is the move. So these areas where you hear about occasionally where tents being bombed and this and that, kind of onesies, twosies, it sounds like they're getting ready to like come in there and like really fuck them up. So I'm just not great. But on the flip side, we're having, we see here, according to Haaretz, Tel Aviv is preparing tens of thousands of orders calling reserve soldiers to active duty. Now, I'm not sure if we covered this on the story on this show, but who knows? Maybe the positive attributes of some of the Israelis that exist out there might actually work out to our business benefit, because it wasn't too long ago there were these stories and lots of different stories of all sorts of reservists, and protest. I believe not protests, the one where you sign them. What the fuck? What is it called when you sign a thingy or whatever to say I don't like that? It's protest, but whatever. You know what I mean. Anyways, point being is these guys were very clearly saying we don't want to do this anymore. We're over it. Now, obviously, they probably have a whole different bunch of reasons. Not all of them are going to be humanitarian or because they feel so bad about the Palestinians. But they seem to be fucking over it. It seems to be the thing here. So we'll see. Are they going to be able to actually pull this off? Are there people going to have the will to allow this? I'm unsure. Obviously, to a certain extent, governments can kind of do whatever they want. This idea that their governments are the will of the people is actually completely fucking retarded. Complete nonsense. That's not how this works. I mean, look at all the things that the government does, that if you got together the people and try to get a consensus, or not a consensus, but it's just a relative idea of what they believe, this would not at all be it. And the same thing applies for Israel. So, but they do need it to some extent. Now, what that number is, what that percentage is, I don't know. What's the demographic of between normies or elites? Like, is it only going to make a difference when the elites start having issues? Is there a certain amount of normal people out there that can make a difference? I don't know what that amount is, but there is a certain amount the powers that be need. If there is no will whatsoever from the people, it's not happening. It's just not. But we'll see. I'm not going to try to get too hopeful, but these were already stories that were seeded out there before, and now it sounds like they're really trying to ramp it up. So it says right here, a total of 12,000 reservists have signed letters saying they will not return to combat, with some estimates assessing that up to 50% of Israel's reserve soldiers will not report when called up, which I hope so. And this is the stuff kind of here, the point where, I don't really bring this up a ton because I don't know. I don't really care. I'm not, like, you guys know I speak pretty crass. I'll say Jew this, Jew that, but in the day, like, I don't really actually have any hatred for Jewish people or Israelis or anything like that. I'm anti-Israel, and by that I mean like the government of Israel. And I guess in a certain sense, maybe even I could make some sort of case for the actual place of Israel too, because but I don't know. Even then, it's generally meaning just the government. But the people are just people. I mean, we'll get into I actually have a settler story for you in a bit. So some of these people are actually, in my opinion, guilty or not guilty. They're not innocent, essentially. They're going through, they're stealing land knowingly. But it's one thing if you're talking about somebody who's been here been in Israel for generations, and they're just living in a house, and they're just a normal person. They probably put no thought into the property rights of wherever they live, because it's been generations. I mean, at a certain point, it just kind of becomes, this is who lives here. There comes a certain point where you get past the point of reasonable litigation. And that's kind of where Palestine is. Some cases, no. Some cases, yes. But for the most part, yeah, it's past litigation. But where I said in some cases, yes, these are like the settlers. When these settlers, we'll get into later, when they're doing this shit, like, yeah, no, they're the baddies. And while they're technically civilians, they are civilians that are essentially they're essentially criminals. They are criminals that are being protected by the government. That's what they're doing. So they're essentially no different than the government at that point. They're all just criminals. That's all they are. They're just people performing crimes against humanity. That's all they're doing. So they're all just criminals. It's really that simple. So this whole idea of, they're private actors or whatever. No, private actors still do bad things. So anyways, my rambling point being is that, who knows? Maybe the Israelis, they'll reach into their heart and they go, we're done with this. And like I said, though, it's not as simple as just, they feel bad for the Palestinians. There's a little bit more of a, I guess you could say, selfish component here. And we're seeing it here with Netanyahu saying freeing hostages is not a priority, which this is how they framed it for a long time, that freeing hostages was the big thing that they really wanted to do. Now they're kind of saying pretty clearly that that's not the main goal, whereas that has been the whole thing from the jump, which makes sense. That should have been the whole thing from the jump. And now they're saying it's not. I mean, this also follows after old Bezalel, or whatever the fuck his name is. Bezalel, yeah. The fucking demon Israeli finance minister, Smotrich. They had said the same thing. He had said, what did he say? They said the freeing the hostages was not Israel's most important goal, and the Gaza problem must be eliminated. So now they are shifting their purported priorities from hostages to killing Hamas. So, which ironically likely means killing the hostages. So this is kind of what I'm driving at with the idea of it might not be as simple as, we feel bad for the Palestinians. It's the point that you're literally, I think a lot of people are detesting this in there. There's been a lot of hostages' families have spoken out, and it's kind of become, from my understanding over there, it's become a bit of a big deal with the hostage family, and the idea that now they're backing off this. They feel disrespected as well. They probably should. Not even probably, they should. This is pretty gross. They stood on the bodies of these people. Well, not even the bodies. They stood on the lives of these people, because I say some of them were still alive, essentially for their war. Meanwhile, they essentially were sacrificial lambs the entire time. They're purported, we're trying to get these back. Meanwhile, they didn't even care. If anything, there were some claims they may have been targeting them. Like, what was it, the Adan guy or whatever, the one who was one of our citizens. He was like a dual citizen. I guess once they started, there was a story that I guess supposedly once we started talking to Hamas and trying to arrange getting out, that's when they started noticing a whole bunch of attacks by Israel in that area. And there were a lot of speculation that seems like they were because they were upset about us talking that they were trying to essentially get rid of the hostage and essentially solve this political problem they were having. The political problem being us daring to talk to Hamas. So I don't know. It's just between these things coming together, maybe, just maybe, the people will not persevere. They will prevail and rise above and essentially prevent this from happening. Essentially, they won't be able to do it if they don't have the bodies to do these things. They can't do them. So we'll see. I mean, if they keep doing dumb shit like this, that's probably how it's going to be. All right, now we're finally on to the last foreign policy story. Here we go. Trump threatens major sanctions on countries purchasing Iranian oil. So we talked yesterday. I already thought it was foolish. They put sanctions on Iran for like I believe it was like the weapons companies or something like that, some sort of military industrial complex. So I kind of went in a little bit of a minor rant about how I guess I don't really care so much if you're sanctioning, government contractors, essentially, whatever. If every country wants to sanction the shit out of everybody else's government contractors, cool. I guess I don't really care. I mean, I don't really feel like that really affects any real economy in a real substantive way. And let's be real, these are for the most part government actors. Like, yeah, sure, some minor people might buy a tank here and there or something, but they're selling to the government. Let's be real. So point being is they did that, amidst the negotiations. I thought that was a bad idea just because of that, but now we're going even further. I think we're still dealing with the negotiations with Iran here, and now we're threatening major sanctions on countries purchasing Iranian oil. Now, it's my understanding that Iranian oil goes to a lot of fucking places and is a large part of the market. So I don't know if we just didn't learn our lesson from Russia. The idea that we're just going to come in and sanction the shit out of everybody and this is going to work, I don't know. It sounds like a really, really smart way to destroy your petrodollar. So, I mean, I guess part of me is kind of like, okay, keep doing this, stupid. But I really think this is a very, very, very dumb move on multiple fronts. Between the negotiating aspect, as I said before, it does feel like that there's some sort of call that's gone out to the administration to kind of be more hostile towards Iran or more accusatory towards Iran. The thinking being probably, maybe this somehow gives them more leverage, although I think it probably does the exact opposite. I think they kind of feel offended by this, as well they should, because what the hell, why don't we just have a good faith discussion instead of all these silly power games going around the outside? I think they're not a fan of it, and neither am I. So it just seems like a stupid idea. So, but we'll see how this works out. Let's go ahead and roll in the chat, and let's get out of here. Not out of here, but let's get out of the foreign policy stuff. On today's morning dump, Jews be Jewing. Yeah, I know. I can't get away from it, man. If they'd stop Jewing, I'd stop covering it. So it is what it is. I don't know what to tell you. Jose, a gift for you. A concept for political by Carl Schmitt. Okay, read in your free time. Okay, I'm assuming it's a short book. Maybe I'll read it and DM it to me because I'm not going to save that. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to roll back through this live chat later to look for it. So. All right, let's get into the next story. Here is one that was shared by Rage Child. Let's go ahead and bring this up. As I've said before, the show is more of a lot of times it's kind of a reaction thing. So I haven't watched this yet. I have no idea. It's complete nonsense, and I could end up making fun of Rage Child. Either way, though, I love you, brother. Thanks for sharing. This is from Mr. Red Pill's Jakarmi. It says, this is scientists in Russia know what happens after you die. So let's go ahead and listen to this and see if this dude knows what happens after we die.
Scientists in Russia have confirmed that they now know what happens to you after you die. I'm not talking about your body. That's just fucking worm food. We all know that. I mean, your spirit, if you like, your consciousness. I read it on the Russian version of Google last night called Yandex. I don't know why this is not all over fucking media right now. I've not slept a wink. So, if you don't know, Russia's largest tech company, Vladtech, have spent the last 10 years creating an interface to your brain that somehow embeds a code into every atom of you. So when you die, they can then locate that code within you, and it's like an Apple AirTag, but on a more expensive, grander level.
Go ahead and go with that. Sounds like nonsense, but let's keep going.
So they can basically see where your electricity, spirit, and memories go to. And they call it a SIC code, soul identity code or something like that. And what they just discovered was fucking mind-blowing. So the first volunteer who passed away, they followed his code, but lost it because it was travelling faster than anything they can record. An hour later, when the computers caught up and refreshed, if you like, the SIC code settled in another galaxy called, I've written it down somewhere, Jade's GS-Z140, which is over 1 billion light years away. It's one of the furthest galaxies that we know of. This is life-changing for us all, as human beings. I cannot believe no one's talking about this. And apparently the scientists don't know why it stopped there. Do we all go there? You know, what's it doing there?
I'm just gonna go ahead and say I don't believe this whatsoever. I mean, I guess I'm open to be proven wrong, but I don't feel like I'm to believe that, for one, they somehow have found a way. They said within every atom of your body. The problem is, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding electricity, but I don't even know if those would be atoms, because isn't that more of like an energy that runs through something? Anyways, beside the point. If your electricity could leave your body, so the idea is that electricity leaves your body or something. I mean, for one, that electricity is going to travel essentially beyond light speed as electricity. That doesn't make sense. So it's converting into some other form of energy or matter from electricity. None of this makes sense to me. I just can't even follow the idea that you could somehow, for one, because this would require essentially you find the quote unquote soul within you, so that's, you have to accept that premise to begin with. Which that's hard. Like the idea, like, sure, maybe there is a soul, but the idea that you could apply some sort of physical tech to it and track it, that seems a little outlandish to me. And then the idea, let's say we assume all these priors of all of this, and then we go, okay, somehow they can track it. You're telling me they can put on essentially a non-corporeal something or other, you know, like a soul or something that doesn't have a physical matter to it. They can track it to the other side of essentially the fucking universe. I don't think we have that sort of tracking capabilities. Like, these are two separate, incredible, fantastical claims. At a minimum. Like, two separate, fantastical claims. This sounds completely fucking bullshit. So, I don't know. Someone go pass this on to Nephilim Death Squad or something. Maybe they'll dig into this more, but this sounds completely nonsensical. And that's not even to be like, because I'm the atheist here, or the agnostic, or whatever. No, this sounds... I feel like even if I was religious, being honest here, it's like, what? The science does not make sense. That doesn't make... I'm no scientist, but that doesn't make the tiniest fucking bit of sense to me that you could do that. Like, even if there is a soul, the idea that you could somehow track a non-physical soul with a physical thing and track that thing to the other side, to a galaxy that's basically the furthest one of the furthest galaxies away from us that we could even see. So it's basically to the extent of our ability to see with, you know, telescopes and the like, but somehow we can track it. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Which, by the way, I'm not giving you shit, Rich. I can't wrap my head around that being true. That makes no fucking sense. So, sorry. Yeah. So, yo, I'm into some hippie woo woo shit, but this is just ridiculous. Yeah. So this is So I think this is for 90 IQ atheists. I mean, maybe. Yeah, I guess you could get some 90 IQ atheists be like, oh my God, Jesus is real. Like, okay. Like, yeah. All right. Like, no, I'm sorry. I don't know. This is retard shit for retards. Sorry. It's a pretty bad. That's pretty bad. If you ever stop sounding like this guy, if you ever start sounding like this guy, stop doing psychedelics. He's just pulling this ass as he goes. Yeah, this is someone saying like quantum entanglement's a new Scientology, which I guess, yeah, that would be an explanation of some sort of quantum entanglement, the idea of that, like, was it like two particles are like interconnected regardless of how far away from the universe they are. So you could maybe there is some sort of soul quantum entanglement stuff if you want to attach science to it somehow, like you from one area to the other or something. But still, I'm sorry, I don't buy, even if that is the case, even if we do somehow fucking whoop whoop to some other fucking galaxy across the universe, I don't feel like we would have the scientific means to bear that out. At least not yet. I don't think we're anywhere fucking near that. But thanks for that, Rach Child. That's something. I don't know. Whatever. Who knows? Maybe you guys go look into it. I'm not even going to bother looking into the specifics in this, trying to hunt down whatever, fucking supposed academic papers this came from, which, let's be real, probably didn't. But yeah, you guys feel free to let me know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they have some sort of revolutionary technology that can do this. Here's from Gung Ho. Said, how long do you think he's dead? Referring to, he's quote tweeting, tweet saying, breaking, Sean Diddy Combs rejects plea deal ahead of sex trafficking trial. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to this, like, at all. Yeah, he rejected a plea deal, so this is just an update on what's going on there. I don't really know. Obviously, you'd need to know, and if just have really any sort of commentary to be had here, I feel like you'd probably need to know more about the specifics of what's going on here. So I don't know if this is a negative or a positive for Combs or, the elites that he's obviously trying to protect or not trying to protect. So, I mean, we'd probably need to see the specifics of the plea deal here to really have any sort of strong opinion. But either way, he's rejecting a plea deal, so I would assume at the very least he's not just getting a plea deal right off the jump. I mean, he got a plea deal, but he's not accepting it. So, because one would assume a plea deal would probably be a way for them to shuttle off this information, which very well is probably why he didn't go for it, if I had to guess. Like, I don't think Diddy would be stupid enough to fucking try to drop any of this info to get himself out of trouble, but I think he'd be smart enough to at least give the perception that he could, but not a strong enough perception that they might kill you type deal. So I don't know, because if he accepts the first plea deal, it's kind of like I could see people above him be like, whoa, what's going on here? So I don't know. All right, we got another one from Ken here. Says this is kind of a follow up a little bit on yesterday in reference to the story he covered about Rupno and her boyfriend, and looking like he could have been some sort of accomplice. And so now we're seeing more connections. It says, we now know these 4 people were all associating each other in online accelerationist chat rooms. Natalie Rupnow, the 15-year-old girl, committed a school shooting in December. Solomon Henderson, the 17-year-old black teenager, committed a school shooting in January. The 2 white guys in their 20s, Damian Allen and Alexander Paffendorf, were both allegedly conspiring with Rupnow to commit a school shooting too. Police arrested Allen on Sunday while the FBI detained Paffendorf last December. This week, a court barred Paffendorf from owning firearms for 3 years. He has yet to be charged. So we're seeing ties and ties and ties here. He did write a story on it if you guys want to get into the specifics of the ties, but I'll just go and give you a little sum up. Well, these guys were in group chats and the like in here. So go check out his chat or his story for more on this if you want the specifics. But yeah, this ties into a lot of the accelerationist type stuff. It seems these people had loose ties or strong ties, depending on how you want to characterize it, to accelerationism or 764 or whatever. This sort of mentality of like, oh, we're going to make things worse, and the idea that it'll work towards our goals in the end. So more of this, although it is interesting that if you look at 764, it's there's a lot that a lot about it that glows pretty strong. So what's going on here? I don't know. Could be completely organic. All right, let's get the next thing we're gonna get into here is this this settler thread I promised you. But let's roll through the chat, see what you guys have to say. Someone's telling me not to commune with demons. Oh, you guys are talking about psychedelics. Got it. Okay, yeah. Okay. Well, you guys are talking about psychedelics, arguing. I would say my personal opinion, while not being religious, if I were to connect a religious component to it, I do think maybe there's something to the idea of natural and artificial. And natural, maybe like you could make the argument like that's from God or something. So like natural psychedelics, marijuana to a lesser degree, maybe. Obviously, I'm not saying you should be a stoner. Maybe mushrooms. Those I do think they're helpful in many ways. Now there's other stuff that I think is not as good. Now I guess you could say alcohol has come from the earth, but I don't think that's good. I mean, let's be real. I drink every once in a great while. Don't really drink it much. I generally think it's a bad thing. Other drugs like that you have to make, and most of those are gonna be shitty. And hell, even like cocaine, like something like cocaine, like if you actually got it from the cocoa leaf, it's not that strong. So like, you have to, in order to make it what it is, you have to do all sorts of chemical process and the like. And then like if we're talking specifically psychedelics, I can tell you I've experimented quite a bit with mushrooms, very little with acid. And the reason why I only experimented very little with acid is because I did not like it. That shit felt evil. I mean, that's just me. That shit felt evil. Like, and whereas mushrooms, it's like that. Like while I've had bad trips, like trips that felt uncomfortable. It was like uncomfortable in like a good way, and like it was uncomfortable, and like I was in my head coming to terms with things that were like bad about me, and like figuring out ways to go about it better. So it's like an uncomfortable conversation or experience with myself, but it's positive overall. Whereas acid was not that. That was never my experience. That was all. If anything, it was like you'd be having a bad trip, and it would be like you'd be thinking bad thoughts, and not only thinking bad thoughts, there would be like you're thinking bad thoughts and liking thinking those bad thoughts. And then like it was weird. It almost as if there was like there might be some sort of DID component there, because I remember there were like, it almost was like two voices in my head in a sense that there was like ones that were like, oh yeah, that's great, like some sort of bad thing. That's great. You should do that. That's great. Like kind of like essentially leaning into the bad thing. And then there would almost be like the real me, the other voice in me that's like, whoa, that's not me. That's gross. I don't like this. I don't like this experience. So I don't like it. It was like, I only did it like twice. Never fucked with that again. So, but now mushrooms, I've had nothing but pretty much positive experience. I've never been one who did like regularly or did a ton. I will say I've noticed I quit smoking shortly after doing like a small like a regimen of like microdosing, and I didn't even connect the two until well after. It was probably like a few weeks after I stopped I did for like a couple weeks, did like a microdose, and then yeah, just a couple weeks after I just stopped smoking. It wasn't even really like an overly thought out thing. I just, one day my vape stopped and I just ran out and I just go like, I don't need this. And I just threw it in the trash. And I was like, just didn't buy another one. And I haven't for well over 6 months. So I don't know. But yeah, I don't like just on drugs like that. I don't like Tom says it's all about intention. I disagree, because I had the same intention with shrooms and LSD. It is somewhat about intention, but not entirely. I do think the chemical you're imbibing matters. So, but yeah, so he screwed up sentence. I used to like psychedelics, but was also trying to escape reality. Like if you're someone using them regularly to escape reality, I do think that's obviously you're misusing it. So, but like, I don't know, using psychedelics, how I've always interacted in my life would be like, I don't know, maybe every few years I'd be like, oh cool, here's some mushrooms, I'll try some. Nothing like, and then I'd do it and I'd be like, oh, okay, that was nice, and I move on with my life. If anything, I don't really have time for that shit, so I just don't anymore. So, but all right. CIA pushes psychedelics for a reason. I agree with that. I do agree with that. But my only point is, if you do feel like you gotta dig with it, I'm not even saying you should or shouldn't. I say stick to natural, stick to mushrooms, stick to weed, stick to what. Don't. If anything, I think generally speaking, anything artificial, stay away from. And that includes, like as I mentioned, things like probably like cocaine, because as much other stuff is mixed into it in the process to get there. But yeah, sure, if you have a coca leaf or coca plant grown in your backyard and you want to chew on those leaves, whatever. Who gives a shit? So, all right, let's get into this. Colonizer thread. So I guess recently there was a documentary by this individual named Louis Theroux, I believe, on the BBC, and in it they interviewed, I guess, one of the main ladies of this. And this lady, they say the woman colonizing Gaza, they say in this viral interview, she confessed her network seizes Palestinian homes, how she controls the Israeli government, and she's the architect behind every illegal settlement built. So let's get into this thread. There's some videos and stuff, so I figured maybe give you guys a little bit of a deeper understanding of how this works, how this systematic overtaking of this area works. So here we go. We have Louis Theroux. It says, just interviewed a prominent settler leader in Israel. Daniela Weiss is her name. She looks like everyone's grandmother, but her views on Palestinians are despicable. The revelations in this BBC documentary should horrify everyone.
The godmother of the Settler Project, going back more than 50 years, is the woman I'd seen at the Gaza border event, Daniela Weiss.
I want to see big cities here, like a city of 2 million people. So it's not a settlement. Settlement is caravans, is trailers, is a home here and a home there. This is not what my dream is about.
The trailers in that video of Daniela have now grown into the settlement of Kedumim, where she still lives. The godmother.
All right, let's keep moving through this thread. There was a little intro to her. It says, meet Daniela Weiss, a significant figure in the settler movement. For decades, she's been involved in establishing settlements across the West Bank. She speaks openly about her influence on government decisions and her connections to figures in Netanyahu's cabinet. So let's go ahead and play this video. By the way, I do want to give you, I don't know if it'll really go into the specifics on this, but it just kind of give an idea how this works, is these settlers come into areas that are unoccupied, maybe is a way to put it. Although a lot of times they were previously occupied. Obviously, think about the war stuff going on over in Israel right now. Essentially, they're pretty much damn near every country on their border they seem to be fighting with right now. They're in Syria, they're in Lebanon, they're obviously Gaza, although it's not a country. Am I forgetting one? I feel like I got to be forgetting one because that's just that's how they be. Obviously, you got Iran that they have issues with. I feel like there was something going on in Iraq a while ago. Either way, point being is they're just fucking off all around their border. And so you got to think right around their border. So now what happens when, let's use Syria, for example. I believe when, Shalani or Olani or Jolani, I forget his name. Whenever he took over, then they moved in and they go, oh, we got to have a buffer zone to kind of protect against this new government just in case. Now, what's going to happen with that buffer zone? Well, settlers are going to come in. They're going to put in tents, going to put in trailers, kind of temporary living things. And then from there, they get settled. And from there, they build up. And then the next thing you know, you have a settlement. And the next thing you know, a settlement becomes a town. And then a town, and it grows and grows and grows. And now you've taken over this area. An area that was almost certainly someone's living space before. And you ousted them by violence. So, they're essentially just, this is where they kind of like work hand in hand with the government, like with Israel. This is what happens like damn near every time there's some sort of military skirmishes along the borders or within the West Bank or Gaza. It's we'll just move in. So like people think, oh, these are just skirmishes, but no, there's another side of it. There's like a skirmish and then the aftermath of now they have less land. So they're slowly losing. Just think about if someone's fucking, some militia opened fire on your home, and then you and your family left, being like, oh, we'll come back when the hostilities are over, and you come back and your home is demolished, and there are tents on your land, and what are you gonna do? Fight off a fucking horde of settlers? That's theirs now. Well, I mean, like this might makes right, I guess. So let's go and play this.
Supported by some in the Israeli government, Daniela is viewed by others in power as a dangerous extremist. She'd agreed to talk to me at home.
Nice to
see you. So we got pictures of you as a young woman. Is the one of you getting married? Is that the oldest one?
This is when we got together. I was then 15 or something.
Your parents were from?
My mother was born in Warsaw. My parents came here and invested fortunes, believing that someday there will be a Jewish state. Mm-hmm. With their vision and their faith, I continue to expand Israel and to be as close as possible to the promised land.
All right. What's notable is her frankness about settlement expansion processes. Weiss discusses a network of settlement organizations she works with. They often don't wait for official permits when illegally settling. Her settlement strategy has multiple components that she discusses. So let's go and hear her discuss how they are going to steal other people's land.
I'm curious to know roughly how many settlements and outposts you've been, let's say, in some way involved in the establishment.
Almost everyone.
For real?
It's 50 years. Mm-hmm. You know what it means, 50 years, that I do what I do today?
Because it's territory that was won in the...
It's wild. It's wild to think that, like, she just said every one of these. Like, every one of these settlements she said she was behind in the last 50 years. It's wild. Like, she is, like, basically a shadow government. She is, like, a component of the government. It's kind of wild.
67 war, that under the Geneva Convention, transferring a civilian population into a conquered terrain, that's considered a war crime.
What I do here is a war crime.
According to the UN.
Cooperating with the person who committed a war crime?
Well, I'm interviewing you.
It's a light.
I do like this guy's pretty good. I gotta give him I don't know anything about this guy, but I did see people talking about this and kind of pointing out the way this guy, I gotta give him props. Whoever this dude is, his interviewing method or like just his kind of demeanor, it really does kind of leave you open. And it does seem like he can even ask these sorts of questions and ask it in a way that like kind of like I don't feel like she felt threatened by it. Like I don't know, his delivery is like he's not even like he's saying it in a way that like he's taking that, like, I believe it's a war crime. He's just saying that, like, this is what some people say, and like his delivery leaves it like he's completely impartial. Is just so good on him, and so he kind of like lulls her into, I think, saying a lot. So let's keep going.
A felony.
I'd read a couple of things suggesting that you were viewed as an extremist and possibly sympathizing with Jewish or Israeli terror.
The confrontation is not over terror. The confrontation is just on whether yes or no we stay.
Oh wow, what a way to change it. She basically, okay, so it's not a matter of it's terrorism, it's the confrontation is whether yes or no we stay here. So it's no, we move in and it's ours. So this is it really is just man, it's funny too. I was thinking as I was thinking about this is like basically, there's not much difference between this, particularly, especially when you know more about some of the violence associated with it. I mean, obviously there's some things about this that are different since it's slightly, but there's not much difference in this in the how the pogroms were portrayed. Because this is essentially these quote-unquote private citizens, these settlers that are encroaching on land, and the government, it's known this is a legal thing. The government doesn't really ever do anything about the settlers. They essentially allow everything they do and always essentially lean against the Palestinians. So if a settlement's already in there, it's in there. That's basically how the government treats it. So essentially being tacitly endorsed by the Israeli government without being explicitly endorsed. So this is essentially, and then once you consider the violent components of this that come into play oh so often, it's basically a pogrom. Like, these are basically pogroms with a slightly different focus. Because yeah, they are also like, there are like minor mobs and like violence and, you know, harassment that they do to these people because they want them to leave the areas they're in, so that they can, you know, they can press in on them. All right, first, strategic location selection. Weiss takes Thoreau to hilltops overlooking Palestinian villages. She explains the positioning of settlements, discussing visibility and location advantages. Locations are chosen with consideration of the surrounding landscape.
Last week, Ronan Bar, the head of Israel's security service, wrote to Netanyahu, the prime minister, and the defense minister, warning that what he called Jewish terror by violent settlers. Ronan Bar, the head of Israel's security service, wrote to Netanyahu, the prime minister, and the defense minister, warning that what he called Jewish terror by violent settlers was doing indescribable damage to Israel.
The reason Ronen Bar says that I'm extremist has nothing to do with terror. Whatever I represent threatens his peaceful, secular life. I have nothing to do with terror. He knows I have nothing to do with terror, and he insists on saying it. It's a lie, and he knows that it's a lie.
Does that really
He
explain
doesn't
it?
like me because I have a lot of influence, much more than he has.
Influence over who?
The young generation that is growing in Israel.
And government too.
And government what?
Do you have influence over government?
No question. Who did all this?
Can you call
Quiet part out loud. No question. Who did all of this?
Netanyahu?
What do you mean? Like this?
Oh my God, this is great. Second, the process of establishing new outposts. She describes how settlers move quickly to establish new outposts. The documentary includes footage of settlement construction. Weiss describes how quickly settlements can be established. The documentary includes a stunning hilltop view. Thoreau joins Weiss as she points the areas to the distance. She discusses her vision for future settlement expansion. When Thoreau asks about Palestinians leaving these areas, and then it kind of quotes, so we're literally taking this demon to a hilltop to overlook a Palestinian, like an area where a bunch of Palestinians live, and just see what she has to say about it.
I had a moment to speak to Daniela on a hilltop overlooking the Palestinian town of Beitar. So you've been talking about settling, you've talked about displacing, wanting the Palestinians to go. You said to Africa, to Canada, to England, you don't care
Turkey.
where. What would be wrong with either a two-state solution or a one-state solution where everyone had the same rights?
We want to have a Jewish state based on Jewish rules, on Jewish values. It's not relationship of neighbors.
Why not?
Because we are two different nations. different.
I just wonder whether you feel or you're aware that, they're really suffering. And there's been settlers rampaging through the area of the West Bank. So there's all this
Agitation.
death, tragedy, right?
Tragedy.
When a people is invaded, right, and then put under a military occupation, deprived of their rights, that anger seems
You can see the irritation on her face. That's wild.
to be an understandable response, an appropriate response.
There is no such thing as settler violence. Did I speak? I don't know if...
Keep in mind, she says there's no such thing as settler violence. This is the Jewish game she plays. Because remember what she said earlier when she was talking about violence. She framed it instead as or as terror. It was framed as terror, and she said, "Oh, these confrontations," she called them, "are not about terror. They're about yes or no, is what they are, and they're about essentially, I forget, it's like yes or no." And she kind of tapped the map. I can't remember what word she said. Essentially, the idea being like, this is where we're going to be. The question is whether you're going to be here or not. It's just that simple to her. So, I mean, I guess in her head, it's just that this is ours, which is foolish. But let's go on.
If I don't mind saying it again. I mean, and I don't mind. I will be glad to explain.
You don't believe it's real? There are videos. You can see them.
You see what? Okay. Let's say now we have a camera here.
Yes.
And I do this.
Yeah.
Do something. You don't mind what I did to you. You don't necessarily have to do.
Well,
it.
I won't do that to you.
You won't.
No.
And then the camera
I don't know what the fuck the point of that was, but okay.
takes just part. You don't have the full picture.
Oh, I see what she's doing. She said you push and then you do something back, but like the idea being, oh, you only saw me push, or I guess the idea would be like if he had pushed back, we would only. I think that was what she was trying to do. I think he didn't go along with it, and she was hoping he would. The idea being, oh, the video would only show you pushing, and so this kind of goes back to my previous point. The idea of like, I guarantee you, she's playing this semantics game where essentially her starting point is this is ours, this is our right, and so if anything, you are the aggressors by being here. So so if you start from that framing, her mentality here makes sense. So, yeah. But yeah, it's ridiculous. So the point being is obviously that she's saying the initial push is from the Palestinians, and by that the initial push being them not leaving their lands. That would be how I would interpret it to make sense of what she's saying, because there's clearly, it's undeniable. There's so much settler violence. There's videos of settler violence, and I get it. You go, oh, she goes, oh, you don't see. So okay, yeah, sure. Some of those maybe something preceded that, or whatever. But there is a lot of settler violence. It's just a fact of the matter. I think. I want to say probably like a month ago, or maybe two, there was the story we covered where it was actually, ironically, I don't know if it is documentary, but probably another documentary, one of these documentary filmmakers that literally, I just believe, documented the settlement stuff, essentially got beat the ever-living shit out of in the village, essentially a mob, a pogrom of fucking is Jews, showed up on this Palestinian's house and beat the ever-living shit out of him in front of his family, almost up into fucking being killed, and then the cops showed up, and you know what they did? They arrested the Palestinian who got the shit kicked out of him, and then eventually he got released. These things happen. Like it just does. I mean, it's not even. I don't even really know how to argue. I mean, I gave you an example. It's just flagrant lying. So all right, let's finish this. Oh shit, my bad.
Won't do that to you.
You won't.
No.
And then the camera takes just part. You don't have the full picture. Then I say you're violent. You're violent against a woman. This is exactly what is going on all the time with what you call
settler violence.
All right. She expresses views that Palestinians don't have permanent rights to land. Documentary shows Weiss's network coordinating between settlers, supporters, and political allies. Includes scenes of her making arrangements for settlement infrastructure. What makes this document significant is portrayal of settlement expansion mechanics. Weiss describes how settlements are often established first and formalized later. She outlines her long-term strategy for establishing settlements.
Settlers do not wake up in the morning or do not go wait for sundown to attack. No, 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 no. Why should we wake up in the morning and think about violence? Why? Our life is good.
Because you want the Palestinians to leave.
No, 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 no.
You've said so.
I said that what is on my mind all the time is how to bring more people to settle the land.
Yeah, even that right there. Even when because I feel like there's an admission she probably knows that's an unpopular take. So instead of choosing to say she wants the Palestinians to leave, she goes no. And so it's not even that she's saying no, I don't want them to leave. I think what she's trying to say is like no, I'm not focused on them leaving. I'm focused on people coming. So I mean, she does. So I think she's not saying that no, I don't want to leave. There's probably obviously a little bit of a language barrier, but trying to make sense of her position. That's the only way I could say it. That she's like essentially playing the semantic game of like no. I'm my thing isn't them leaving. My thing is people coming. And you're like, okay, well that's like essentially ends up being the same thing. So let's keep going.
This is a new development by Jews. This is Har Bracha. This is Itzhar. Here we can develop. Here we cannot develop. I never think in terms of. I know this is beta.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think about beta.
Why not?
Because I think about I'm a Jew.
The people.
I'm a
Exactly. She said exactly what I was getting at right there. Here you go.
settler.
The people.
I'm a human being.
Yes, you are. So are they.
So I do not think about this.
You're thinking about tribalism, thinking of your own people to the exclusion. It would be understandable to think of your own people or your own children first, but to think about other people, other children, not at all, that seems sociopathic.
I can.
Doesn't it?
No, not at all. This is normal. To my children, I give everything, because the normal thing for me is to pray for my own people. That's it. So now I continue.
Man, what a great example of how this really is just a racial superiority thing, like or whatever you want to call it. And to some extent, I actually get what she's saying, sort of. But he kind of brought the point. Like, it's just such a ridiculous degree to where like you don't even think about it. Like, I get the idea of I would let literally every single one of you in this chat go away. I'm trying to avoid my words so I don't get in trouble. I would do it with my own hands if I had to, if that meant keeping my children alive. I would methodically, slowly, just piece by piece, limb by limb, whatever I had to do to keep my kid. Like, I don't care. I get that. But the thing is, I don't like, given her example, this is ridiculous because it's like, that's not like you can, there are other options. You don't have to, these aren't, if anything, you're probably making it more unsafe, but it's also just such a ridiculous degree. Like there are like second order things. It's like, okay, you care most about your family, then you care about your community, and you go on and on and out and out. And at certain points, like, okay, like to some degree, she should care about the people on her border. To some degree, far less than the other things. And I think treating them in this way kind of upsets the whole balance. And I do think I don't know. It's just a ridiculous degree of not caring to like, especially when you're the one doing it. Like it's different when you're doing it. Like if you're just like if it's happening in another country and you're like, whatever, like, okay. But like when you're the one doing it, it's a different thing. It should weigh on your mind a little bit more. Like I sort of get what she's getting at. All right, let's keep going. The West Bank settler population has grown substantially over the decades. When raised questions about international law, she dismisses them, frames her position of religious views. Religious perspective is central to her advocacy. That's the end of it. That's the end of it. I just want to show you kind of like this is the broad. This is the behind Netanyahu. This is probably the second most important person probably in that country. So wild stuff. All right, let's scroll through the chat, see what you guys have to say. Script Rebellion on the hallucinogenics again says just because it's natural doesn't mean it's good for you. Snake venom's also natural. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I just say generally speaking, and I mean you just said then, but I get what you're saying. Yeah. I figured, but yeah, it's a massive difference between the CIA giving people thousands of doses of acid and taking some mushrooms, perhaps. So, IB says the truth about how Zionists work for sure. Scrolling through. If you buy the land, you can build whatever you want. Yeah, for sure. Exactly. If you actually bought it, that's the thing. The problem is they steal most of these things. Quick question, is Tucker fed? Probably. Yeah. So, I mean, despite being really damn good on shit, like if you look into his past, his dad's past, boy, oh boy, does he glow. Maybe he's a glowy that at some point goes, fuck this glowy shit. I'm I'm here. I'm here for America now. Maybe he's a good guy. I mean, most shit. I don't really know much that he's for that I would be like vehemently against. He's pretty solid in his public positions, but let's be real. His dad ran Voice of America, which was just an outward-facing CIA fucking operation. Let's be real. It was it's essentially just NPR for the fucking entire world, essentially to spin narratives. And then you have fucking Tucker running off to Venezuela and fucking heavily alluding to that he was helping out freedom fighters over there. So, like, dude, fucking... I mean, yeah, maybe you could just say he was doing some shit for his dad then. Maybe he wasn't, like, an actual CIA agent or something. But, like, dude, this dude fucking glows. So, I don't know. Scrolling through. So... God is not a real estate agent, contrary to Zionist beliefs. Yeah, for sure, exactly. We must never forget the CIA inflicted the hippie, the wook, and the Trimigan had brought us. Yeah. Scrolling through. So I just think weed and psychedelics do more harm than good. Good can come from anything, though. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd say I think weed probably. I'd agree with that. Well, actually, maybe even psychedelics. I guess it depends. It's hard to say. I think it really depends on how people use it and stuff. But yeah, you might be right in that most people probably don't use them in the correct things. Especially weed. Definitely, most people probably use it way too much. But psychedelics, from most people I know, so obviously it's completely anecdotal. That have used hallucinogenics, don't use them regularly, and I don't really know much of acid heads. Like I said, how I said acid's kind of shitty. Most guys I know that have dick with it just be shrooms every once in a while. So I don't know. It's just kind of more harm than good. I don't know. If anything, I see more good than harm there. It seems like people find new ways of thinking through. It just seems like a therapy session because all I've ever done every time I've done shrooms is just find myself sitting in some corner just thinking a bunch. That's really all it is. And it's like, if anything, usually pretty good thoughts from my recollection and mostly reevaluating my patterns of behavior, usually. Kind of like, why do I do this thing? Why do I do that thing? I should do this thing different. So, which are all things you can do in a completely normal conscious mind. I just feel like, I don't know. It just kind of puts you more in your head and allows you a better thinking space. So that's all I can think of. But maybe you have something. Maybe there's something to it being bad. There definitely are people who probably use it wrong. So, all right, scrolling through it. Psychedelics are the devil's Eucharist, perhaps. Someone says he's been doing this sort of expose for a long time on a wide array of subjects. Very worth checking out. Maybe I will have to check him out later. All right, scrolling through. The entire Israeli state is an entity that is built by and for terrorists. Here's yet another Jewish supremacist that would gladly see anyone die in the name of their cause. You said maybe the psychedelics are keeping you from accepting God. Perhaps. Maybe that is. Good point, Screw Rebellion. I guess it's the seen and the unseen. I'm only talking about the seen, the direct effects. Maybe there's the unseen. Maybe there is a God, and I am denying him due to my psychedelics usage. Perhaps. I don't know. I have no idea. All right, scrolling through. Yes, Keystone says, bought my house in the city, bought the others around me over the years, and put in low-income Puerto Rican people that party and have the cops in our block weekly. She can deal with sharing space, for sure. All right, scrolling through here. I can't stand Louis Theroux. I don't really know anything about him. He seemed all right. This is the only time I've ever really seen him, so... Says all she cares about is Jews. Exactly. That's kind of, I guess, what I was trying to drive at. The idea that, like, I get prioritizing it, but if that's all you care about, it's kind of, I believe that can also cause an issue. Like, I'm very much an egoist in my perspective. Like, it comes, like, in order of a priority, it's like literally concentric circles around me, essentially. Like, my children, my wife, and then, my community, like going out further. And I think if you have those things out of whack, it can cause problems. And I think that's kind of the issue. The issue being that it seems like she cares more about Jews in general than probably she should care about some of the other ones. And then also on top of that, she has no care for anything below that, essentially. So I think it throws it out of whack. So I think that's what we're seeing here. Scrolling through. People don't just hate people for no reason. Exactly. It is normal to prioritize your people. Yeah, that was what I was trying to drive at. So it just seemed like a insane amount of it. So I don't know. Just scrolling through. Sloppy Toppy says, big fan of shrooms with LSD be taking something from my brain, so I've stayed away from it. Almost feel like I have no control over impulses. Good point. Yeah. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into the next story. Here is, I thought this was kind of interesting and kind of played into what we were talking about. And I also just kind of thought it was interesting because it's Bobby Lee. I literally just saw Bobby Lee a few weeks ago. Now, he didn't see me. I'll go ahead and say that. I didn't say hi or anything because it's like it was weird. I didn't want to be that faggot. But I did see him when I went to, what did I go to? I went to the Comedy Store when I went to go do the Jake Shields episode a couple weeks ago. Me and Austin, Sam Tripoli invited us to kind of be his special guest type deal, kind of like getting behind the scenes type deal, hang out with the comedians or whatever. Just kind of hang out type deal. So we showed up there, hung out with him, and it was at the Comedy Store, the world famous Comedy Store, and it just so happened to be the night Bobby Lee was there. And if you know the layout of the Comedy Store, it is very intimate, so it is weird. You roll up there, just kind of walk in. There's just a little bar as you walk in, and then you got all these different comedians of varying people that you're like, I think I know that guy. I think I know that guy. Even up into like literally the staff there. Like the staff there are people that you'll look at and be like, I swear I've seen you in some like comedic skit or something. Because that's what these all are, is like minor actors or minor comedians or whatever that are working there, essentially waiting to get their big break. So it was interesting. I guess I walked in and like Bobby Lee is just sitting there drinking a beer, like literally less than 5 feet away from me. I just thought it was cool. I was like, oh, what the fuck? Just chilling, just out there. So just thought that was interesting. Bobby Lee there. I didn't say hi though, because I don't know, just like I said, that'd be weird. He was just enjoying his beer. I just thought it was kind of neat. I'm like, holy shit, there's Bobby Lee. And then I just kind of moved on with my day. But either way, here's a video of him talking about going to the wall, essentially. I thought this was particularly interesting coming from Bobby Lee. So let's go play this.
Israeli government is flying out like celebrities for free out there to do a tour for free. And it's on the house. They fly you first class, the whole thing. And I go, it's free? And they go, yeah. It's not free. Because when you land there, they go, you have to every day tweet positive things about Israel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I just felt so uneasy about it. I don't know much about it. I just know that they're in conflict. But I did what they said. It was just basically, Palestinians, Israel's a beautiful country.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's true,
It is true, but then it's like, I had to tag the government in it or whatever.
Oh, that's crazy. The Israeli government?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, that's weird as shit.
Yeah, and it was just like every day it was just nonstop.
You were cucking for the Israeli government.
Yeah, but I wish I hadn't gone really.
That's wild. I mean, what? It's kind of wild that he's saying while he's there, they. I don't know. Like he makes it sound like they made them. Like, what does that even mean? I mean, maybe it's just kind of like a fine. I also I don't know really a ton about Bobby Lee, but just the bit I've seen him on podcasts and stuff. I also could see him being the kind that's like, okay, and just like tweet it like he said, cucking. Like, and Bobby would be the kind that's kind of like, fine. And, like he would even joke about later, like, yeah, I was being a bitch. Like it's just kind of how he. I just don't see. I could totally see him having no spine there and just like, okay, fine, whatever. But he's also just as equally, like he is now, coming out later and talking shit about it. So, like, yeah, I mean, I think that's just kind of how Bobby Lee is. But it is weird that it's like they're pressing you to that degree to where he even did it. That's pretty nuts. All right, let's check in the chat, see what you guys say. And then we're going to get the last thing. We're going to do a live reading to finish out today. So, I mean, I'm just warning you guys, because I know a lot of people that probably don't like that. It's probably a little bit weird for some of you guys to sit here and listen to me read for a while. But I had one of the guys that I used a lot for, kind of digging into Dutroux. He was a great resource. He finally took his threads online and has made them into Substacks. So I was going to cover the first Substack. I assume we'd probably cover it in two separate parts or so. But I figured probably the last 15 to 30 minutes or however long it takes, we'd probably sit here and read the first part or so and go over that. So just give me we'll go over that in a minute after I roll through the chat here. So. Yes, Bernal John Doe, you can prioritize without committing genocide. Exactly. That's kind of the idea of prioritizing. That's my idea. It's the idea that, like, yes, like you should prioritize yours, but it's like at a certain point, they're also like, they're literally your neighbors, essentially. So it's like, yeah, you should, like, yeah, you shouldn't care about them more than you do your children or your local community, but like they are your neighbors and like it's a small area. So this is like, I mean, Israel, Gaza, we're only talking about what, like maybe a few hundred miles or something like. I mean, I don't know, like at least Gaza. I don't remember the size, but it's not small. I know it's not like it's like the size of like some state in New England. Anyone who's been in New England knows that like you can go from New Hampshire to Massachusetts and like fucking you could drive through Massachusetts in probably like, I don't know, 3-4 hours, like kind of through. So they're not big areas. So like if you're someone living in New England, I guess it's the idea of like being in New Hampshire and caring about Vermont or something. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't care about them a ton, but like if you're also like, I'm completely cool with murdering them so that like my family can get their land. I mean, it's like your family doesn't really need that much, and you also should to some degree care about those people. So it just seems like an imbalance of priorities. Like, yes, you should prioritize the one, but not, I don't know. It just doesn't. Maybe there's a better way to express what I'm trying to say, but it does seem ridiculous. So scrolling through. I guess he Script Bellion says, I guess Bobby talked about this on JRE. So cool. Holy shit! An IRL streamer who visited the Wailing Wall and put a pic of Epstein on the wall. Fucking epic. Although I will say that's it is. I'll be honest. That's actually, while I go, haha, that's funny. Kind of shitty. I guess I don't really endorse that. Like, but I also don't endorse people going to the wall. I feel like it somehow we get the spinning of things that this is somehow some sort of respect for history or other religions or whatever. But I frankly find it super fucking gross. It's just something weird about that because it seems like a religious activity, and if you aren't of that religion, it feels like if for some reason Muslims insisted that I came to, I don't know, Iraq and fucking do their little fucking multiple times a day little kneely thingy. It would almost feel disrespectful to their religion to go along with it. Like, I'm not part of your religion. This is weird. So the same thing goes for the Wailing Wall. I don't like it. It feels gross. But at the same time, I do feel like it's kind of, I don't know, if I fucking showed up to some one of these like kneeling Muslim sessions, whatever they're called, then I fucking, I don't know, what could I do to disrespect it? And I fucking sat there and ate bacon or something, it'd be like, it's shitty. I don't know. It's just but on the same thing, I also think it's shitty if they were trying to force fucking Americans, or not even force, not even coerce really, just bribe, I guess, people to come to them. Someone asked if I went to Boston University. No, I didn't. I went to Eastern Tennessee State University. I moved to Tennessee. I only went for a semester. I moved to Tennessee halfway through high school, and I lived in Maine when I was a little kid. So, it says time does sponsor you a trip to go to Saudi Arabia to Mecca. Oh well, shit. Perhaps, maybe. Then I guess maybe there is there's a Muslim version of the wall. I guess Mecca. But is that like a thing they're really trying to get people to go to, or is that just like if you're a Muslim and you want to go? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, if they're doing that too, that's weird. Hopefully it doesn't catch on, because I find it to be kind of weird and gross. So, all right, let's get into the live reading. Real quick, let me bring up this chat. Yeah, it's a giant ass black cube. Yeah, it is, which is creepy. That gets, I believe, into like Saturn worship, which is like that's a whole fucking rabbit hole. But let's go into. Here we go. I'll show you who it is. First off, give a shout out to IRC NIC. That's his name, but his handle is at IRC_NIC. He does great coverage on the Dutroux affair. And like I said, he finally wrote a piece, so that's what we're going to cover. So here we are over here. His Substack is also IRC_NIC. I really feel like I should probably know these acronyms, but not familiar at all. But IRC_NIC on Substack as well. But let's go ahead and get into this. It's called Dutroux: The Missing Pieces, Part 1. It says, when researching the Dutroux case, you're left with more questions than you are with answers. The simple observation has led me to look deeper into it, diving into the unknown. Genesis. Ever since I started researching the Dutroux affair, one constant has stayed with me throughout my readings and my own writing. This case is a symptom of a larger sickness that's plaguing Belgium. Political and financial corruption, sexual blackmail, massive criminal networks, prostitution, pedophilia, and CSAM rings, all happening right here in NATO's heart in Europe's capital. The Belgium state has effectively adopted the cover-up of the Dutroux and Nihul network as the objective truth, the one true reality of the Dutroux affair. There was no network of any kind. He was kidnapping and killing these girls all alone, except for the help of his wife or an accomplice for his own pleasure. He's the monster of Belgium, the boogeyman from Charleroi. Now, anyone who's ever spent more than 5 minutes looking up Dutroux understands that you have to be completely oblivious to not at least notice there was a bigger operation of human trafficking and child trafficking happening around Marc Dutroux and Michel Nihoul, but also other people they were affiliated with, and this is what has been obsessing me and staying with me all along. The truth is that there's multiple aspects to this case. There's not just one answer that solves it all. There's what we know of it, there's what we suppose, and there's what we don't know. What we know of Marc Dutroux and the various criminal networks he was involved with throughout his life makes up most of the mainstream talk about the Dutroux case. It's what you'd hear if you turned on any true crime podcast or Googled Dutroux and read the Wikipedia page of the case. What we suppose makes for the theories surrounding him and the people around him, like Michel Nihoul. For example, you've got the creation and distribution of CSAM, their links to prostitution and pedophile abuse networks, as well as the various trafficking operations Marc Dutroux was involved with, like vehicle trafficking, as well as the fact that he most likely was a police informant like Michel Nihoul. This is all documented, but we can't know exactly to which extent Dutroux and others were involved. And then there's what we don't know. And I'm not talking about the questions that are left unanswered, like most of them are if you know anything about this case. But I'm referring to the shadows of the Dutroux affair. Not even the smaller details, but rather something else completely. The unknown, the missing pieces. This is what I'm after. Portrait of a monster. When arrested in August of 1996, Dutroux slowly and carefully revealed to the police forces what he knew of those kidnapping cases he was being questioned on. At this point, the investigators were still only looking for Letitia Delhez officially, and they were trying to make him admit to other kidnappings. He eventually tried to make himself the man in charge when he said to the cops working him, "I'm going to give you 2 girls," referring to Sabine Dardine and Letitia Delhez. Dutroux played that game for a few days, giving hints, and every time he would point them towards another dead girl, it would only be indications, barely admitting to being responsible for the disappearance, let alone their death. This is typical behavior from Marc Dutroux, as he's a known narcissist, a diagnosed sociopath, and he has a major victim complex. He's always insinuating that he somehow had his hands tied and couldn't do anything to stop what had happened, and that all those deaths simply were the result of society and how he'd been treated. He was made this way by Belgium and its justice system. They had slowly shaped him to become this monster. Here's what the man had to say about himself when asked, "Why did you do this?" "I wanted to create my own little world." This is him. "The idea came to me after I got out of prison. I could no longer live in society as it is. It's other people's fault that I became like this. I had the choice between owning a girl or committing suicide. I confessed and I showed you their hiding place because I didn't want the girls to suffer." Huh. That is a weird that he said he has a choice between owning a girl or committing suicide. This makes me I don't know. There is weirdness about I guess maybe we'll get into this in this piece about like his past, and like I don't know. There were implications that perhaps he was doing these sort of things before even all this stuff was going on. Like he'd actually had been busted before, but like more so than even was reported on. And so I think they were a little bit hazy on some of his earlier details. So my point being is I wouldn't be surprised if there was some component of, I don't know, like what I frequently mention when it comes to these trafficking networks and how a lot of times you grow up inside of them and then you become at some point the Dutroux or something along these lines. So now I don't know whether this is the case or not, but I'm just saying like perhaps I wouldn't be surprised if Dutroux was someone who had experienced his own sort of abuse from a young age and went through this network and was raised through it and was given a choice between owning a girl or committing suicide, as he said here, or something along those lines. I mean, I don't know what maybe they meant something else by that, but that kind of leads to believe maybe there's something to that. I'm not sure. He could just be complete crazed first generation psycho. But a lot of times these networks create them. So the victims then become the monsters. And then they create new victims who become monsters, and so on and so forth, and the game keeps on playing. But let's keep going. The truth is that Dutroux is a result of his environment, but despite his rough upbringing, Dutroux made his own name as a monster for himself, and that when confronted with what he did, he would either flat out deny or act as a victim, even when he's a direct perpetrator. Which, to the victim component, especially playing to what I just said, I can totally understand that. Like, if you do play this slow game of switching someone from a victim into a victimizer, it is kind of hard. It does make sense. It's the boiling of the pot concept. It's that, like, it would make sense that within your own brain, you never really saw yourself as anything other than the victim. Everything you've done throughout this, because it's small little small little deaths inside, small little concessions, and then but next thing you know, you're the one slinging these kids around type deal. So, but my point being is you still end up being the monster, but maybe you got tiptoed towards that, toward that. And so I can totally see how within your own brain, especially considering how people tend to see themselves as the protagonists of their own story, that you would see yourself as the victim, and that at some point you're going to rise above, and maybe even to create some sort of messed up attachments to these girls, as there are claims throughout this story that's the case, and maybe even trying to protect them in some cases. I mean, obviously, that clearly doesn't extend to protecting them from himself, but it seems to be he might be trauma bonding with these children, unfortunately. Anyways, let's keep going. This is, of course, a reaction you expect from a narcissist sociopath, but the split between his actions and his detachment from seeing himself as the one responsible for them could also be explained by the fact Dutroux was working for someone else. He was just handling these girls as real people responsible for it, which is exactly my point. It's kind of like if you are someone brought up through this, you could easily just tell yourself, like, especially if this is all you've ever known, this is what you've been brought through, you've been essentially, your other alternative throughout life was likely killed or seeing others get killed or something, that, yeah, you would, that you would feel like you had almost no choice, that like there's no other option here. Like, these people will kill me. And you know what? To some extent, that's true. They will kill you. But at some point, but you are your own individual actor, and you are responsible for your actions, just regardless of what, has happened to you in the past. So, but yeah, anyways, this is let me see. Sorry, I accidentally missed my spot. The split between his actions and his attachment from seeing himself as the one responsible for them could be, they're his bosses, whoever he was working for, whoever was delivering them. This is a sentiment echoed by Dutroux to his victims when he would paint himself as the good guy, saying the people in charge were the bad guys, and that he was doing these girls a favor by keeping them with him in his dungeon and not giving them out to the bad guys who would surely kill them. And so he would only bring up the girls to the cops after they were mentioned to him, and eventually out of pride, he'll say he knows what happened to them vaguely. But how can you trust Mark Dutroux to come forward and reveal all the crimes that he has committed? That's the main question that led me to writing this, and it also made me want to go deeper on that thought and see if anything could be dug up. And beyond what could be linking Dutroux to the crimes I found while doing research, bring up cold cases, cold cases would also help paint a larger picture of what was happening in Belgium throughout the 80s and 90s. In 1989, after kidnapping and raping multiple young girls, Dutroux was arrested and a trial was held for the 5 girls who came forward. But only those. It is documented from victims' testimonies that Dutroux was involved with the abuse of at least 9 girls during the 80s time period. As for the total of victims for the time period between Dutroux's release from prison in 92 until his arrest in 96, the only account we have for that is the very flawed initial police investigation and Dutroux's word for it. 6 girls who all went missing after being kidnapped by Dutroux and/or his accomplices. 4 of them, Julie, Melissa, and Yif, that then later were found dead on his and Bernard Weinstein's properties, with the other 2 girls, Sabine and Letitia, being found alive and saved. But let's not forget the 3 Slovakian girls that Dutroux abused in 95 as well. Henrietta, Eva, and Janka. He used a camcorder to record their abuse and was convicted of it in his trial. Reality is that missing children cases were reaching records numbers in Belgium in the early 90s, and it's not only until the disappearances of Julie Lejeune and Melissa Rousseau in 95 that these cases started gaining media attention. Before there was any Dutroux affair, there was a missing children panic happening. Who was kidnapping these children? Were all of them found? Could any of them have also been kidnapped by Mark Dutroux? What about one of his accomplices? Were there any other notorious pedophiles operating at the same time in Belgium or in nearby countries? This is what I'm going to look into, and in doing so, I will try to find answers, at least a lead that can explain what was happening exactly. All right, that's where we're going to finish it for today. We'll come back later to finish the rest. So maybe it'll be 2 or 3 parts, because it's not a super long piece, but I don't know, we'll see how we break it up. I feel like that's probably a decent spot to stop for today. Let's roll through the chat real quick before we get out of here, and we'll go and do our thing. He says, my mind is blown like Hunter Biden in his hotel room. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Lysander Spooner. Maybe you're just now hearing about Dutroux here. Matt Burns, Johnson freaking City, Tennessee. Yeah, sure thing, buddy. That's where I went to school. Hell yeah. Went to high school in Greenville, Tennessee, which was not even an hour away. Green evil is what we would call it. Scrolling through. Shout out Jose on the white power and awesome content. Well, thank you for the awesome content. I don't know what the white power is, but I mean, I am white and I am powerful, and I guess you could say white power to that. I'm not particularly someone obsessed with race in that way. I don't really care. Abrigades, later, buddy. See ya. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get out of here. Appreciate you all for joining me. I do want to remind you guys that if you do want to support this show, one way you can do that without chipping in any money whatsoever, this is completely free. I guess one way. This is multiple ways. It's a stupid way for me to put it. But like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes and Spotify. Even if it's something as simple as just following me on Twitter, that helps too. Just even to but a much minor degree. But hell, do that. I mean, even if you don't really care about helping me, if you just want to see your content featured on the Morning Dump here, that's the way to do it. I mean, I think it was probably at least 3 topics today were sourced from you guys. So you guys are my eyes and ears out there. So follow me at Tagging Jose. Tag me and stuff if you find it interesting. You feel like it's something that would be interesting for the show. I mean, if you guys think it's interesting, there's a good chance I will. You're my audience. We probably have very similar interests. So do that. And if you want to directly support the show, support it the best way you can. You can also obviously give me money. I definitely like that, and that's the best way to support the show. But I mean, if you guys can't afford it, obviously don't. But it's pretty affordable. $2 at the lowest level. Highest levels, as well as $20, I think. Obviously, you can pay more if you want. But my lowest level is that's a $2 level. So not too much. And that level, you get early episodes. Like last night, I had Austin on to cover Watergate. We finally finished it. Then I also had, I believe, Jules on earlier this week. And I'm doing 2 again next week. So, it's usually 2 a week. 4 all together is the goal. And I'm going to start next week. I'll put out 1 for the public. But after that, I think as long as I can keep up with 2 recording a week, I'm going to start releasing 2 public a week. So you guys are getting more as well, even for the public. But if you do want to get those weeks early of the public, that's the way to do it. Also, you can add free RSS feed, and you get priority for the call-in on me and Austin's weekly call-in show, Already Dead. So that's at Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. You also can hang out with us in the pre-show if you're a patron. But my highest level is my sponsors. I read them off every episode. It's a big thank you to them. I'm a co-host in Tower Gang at Tower Gang Toad. Also at Abrigades at ZOVRECK at _Infinite Zeal. Tim Tuttle at Jolly and Cleebold. Will Bell's Delicious Blueberry Rabbit Eye Wine. Big fan of the show. Tori Malin at INWARD Lover. And with that, we are out of here. Love you all. And remember, water is right. You fucking commies. Laney says I have nothing to say except it's the Jews. Love you all. Bye-bye, everybody. All right, deuces. See ya.